Well, since Suzuki's announcement, Joan Mir was waiting for something to come along. And it did. Finally, he was making his way to Honda. And one thing is for sure, it hasn't been an easy journey. It has been a journey filled with victories, yes, but also some failures along the way too. All it takes to make a legend. And is Joan not one? Well, his achievements speak for themselves. So what did it take for him to make it to Honda? To understand that, let's take a look at his racing career. Joan has not had the easiest career path in MotoGP. He started motorcycle racing later than his road racing championship rivals. He got his hands on a personal bike when he was 6 years old, which was a Polini, and a year later he was gifted a Honda QR. Mir's family was not that into bikes and for the most part, liked off-road racing more than on-track racing. Most of them were interested in other sports, unlike Mir. In fact, his father, Joan, was actually a skating shop owner in Majorca. Therefore, he grew up mostly surrounded by skateboard decks rather than motorcycles that would take him to the limelight. He was not that interested in speed until he watched his cousin make his way to the World Championships in the stop-and-go team. After that, Mir was all about speed. And what is more interesting is he never admitted that he never looked up to anyone, just like Rossi. He, however, admired Rafael Nadal. His first taste of the racing track after his taste for speed was in 2009 at Chico Lorenzo's school. He stayed in the school for a year, then later, in 2009, he made his way to the Balearic Motorcycling Foundation. It was in that period that Daniel recognized Joan's potential. At that time, he came across Daniel Vidilo, who became a huge part of his journey as an advisor who was with him at every race that followed. Danny was not wrong. He'd definitely seen something different in Joan Mir. Joan began his racing adventure in the 2011 XL160 category in the Bankia Club. He immediately took the crown with just 2 races to go before the end of the championship. Soon after that, it was the Pre-GP 125 Cup in the MotoGP, and Joan Mir put in all he had to take another title. The Cup was the next step he needed to take to make it to the World Championship. Joan made his way to the Red Bull Rookies Cup and took part in 2 seasons from 2013 to 2014. As he was still adjusting in the first year, he didn't claim any crown, and his best performance was 9th position in the overall standings. And in his second year, he finished in 2nd position after battling Jorge Martin. 2015 was here and it was as turbulent as it could be, as Joan had to face some very tough circumstances. Joan was ready to begin his FIM CEV Championship career, but that never happened because the team cancelled the project at the very last minute. Mir didn't take this lying down. Together with his entourage, they reached out to Paco Sanchez, the rider manager, who gave him the help he needed to finish the CEV Championship. He joined Team Mercado with an Iota bike, but in the end, he received support from the Leopard Racing team. As he was on vacation towards the end of the season, he was contacted by the Leopard Racing team once more, as they needed him to replace the injured Hiroki Ono at the Australian Grand Prix. It was a wildcard appearance that would turn out to be worth a lot more. Joan kept it low-key during his debut and was 15th on the starting grid at Phillip Island. He got a great start and made it to the lead group, but while in 4th place he crashed out. Even with the crash, Joan had made his mark by proving to Leopard his potential, and for 2016 they recruited him. Joan Mir was finally in the World Championship in 2016, and he immediately proved it was the right decision for the Leopard Racing team. He surprised everyone in Austria by taking his first victory and debut podium after a super race. He completed the championship in 5th place and was also Rookie of the Year with 3 podiums, 1 pole and 2 fastest laps. The 2016 season turned out to be the best warm-up for the following season, because Joan went ahead to have 13 podiums, 10 wins, and dominated the title. Undoubtedly, he had the strength and talent as he took the Moto3 crown, and a fantastic way to rise to the Moto2. Joining Moto2 in 2018, Mir was more determined than ever as he made it to the EG 0.0 Mark VDS team. He adjusted very fast and from the beginning proved to be a strong competitor. The onlookers felt that a podium was coming his way, which he did for the first time in Moto2 in France, and then Italy immediately after. He had a good beginning, but the ending was not what he had expected, as his performance dipped for several reasons. In the end, he finished in 6th place and was Rookie of the Year a day before the tests in Valencia, where he first got to ride the GSX RR with the Suzuki X-Star team. Joan adopted to how Suzuki worked very quickly during the 2019 MotoGP season, and even commented that joining the team was like having a new family. He was in 8th place in his initial race held in Qatar. After that, he finished in the top 10 9 times, even suffering an injury mid-season that made him sit out 2 rounds. He came back and impressively finished in 5th place in Thailand. He then topped it up with another 5th place finish in the season's last 2 races, held in Malaysia and Spain. Joan completed his rookie championship standings in 12th place. He was focused on enhancing his riding style to better ride the GSR RR, and was very ambitious for the following season. It was in 2020 that Joan Mir finally got his place as one of the top MotoGP riders. It happened at a very hard time, when the COVID-19 pandemic struck. With fewer races to participate in, he needed to be more consistent and focused, which is exactly what he did. He remained a consistent rider in the pack, claiming 7 podiums from 14 races and receiving an average of 13 points every race. That handed him the title for the 2020 FIM MotoGP World Championship. It was an amazing achievement for Joan and Suzuki. And it just so happened that Suzuki was also celebrating its 100th anniversary that year, and the 60th anniversary of competing in races. Joan began his 2021 season with a sequence of top 10 finishes in Qatar, as he was in 10th place in the final race, and forgot to use Suzuki's launch control from the beginning. He still managed to make his way to 2nd place in the race's final lap, before the Ducati riders Francesco Bagnaia and Johan Zarco passed him, though near the end, which left him finishing in 4th place. In the race that followed the week after, he finished in 7th place behind Alex Rins, his teammate. However, the most notable part of the race was Joan's battle with Jack Miller, who was riding for Ducati. The battle began when Joan tried to overtake and needed to pick up his bike halfway through the corner and nearly forced Miller out of the track. Jack later collided with Mir heading down the back straight. After the race, he argued that Jack Miller's actions were intentional. Mir was in Portimao 2 weeks later. He began in 9th place and rose to finish in 3rd with Fabio Quartararo and Bagnaia ahead of him, and gave Suzuki their first podium for the season. He completed 5th at Jerez, then crashed in the wet Le Mans conditions. After that, he had his 2nd podium standing in Mugello after finishing in 3rd place. He finished in 5th place again in Catalunya. Still, he was promoted to 4th place after Fabio received a penalty for taking off his chest protector and leaving his leathers open while riding. A 9th place followed at Sachsenring. A 3rd place in Assen then gave him his podium of the year during the season's summer break. He returned to the grid racing in the Spielberg and Austria double round. He claimed his 4th podium of the season after finishing in 2nd place behind Jorge Martin, a rookie rider for Ducati who took his maiden MotoGP to win. Joan went ahead to finish in 3rd place at Aragon, then did his best again for the season by finishing in 2nd place in Portimao, then put an end to the year in Valencia with a 4th place finish, the season's last race. In the Riders' Championship, he finished 3rd with 208 points, which was 44 less than Francesco Bagnaia, who was in 2nd position, and 70 less than Fabio Quartararo, who became the 2021 World Champion. For 2022, Mir sat out a couple of rounds because of his injuries in Austria. After Suzuki's departure from MotoGP, he'll be racing with Repsol Honda in the next season in 2023, partnering up with Marquez, the 6-time championship winner. Taking a look at Joan Mir's journey from the early age of 6, Repsol Honda did not just pick him randomly. They knew what he was capable of. Time and time again, Joan put in all he had to give some of the best performances on the track. With every passing season, he got better and better, even with the difficult circumstances that he had to face. No one just makes it to Repsol Honda. They have to fight for it with all they've got. And that is exactly what Joan Mir did. What should Joan expect with Honda? With Mir joining Marc Marquez at Repsol Honda, Marquez has commented on what he should expect. Honda struggled during the 2022 season with its rider Marquez finishing in last place of the Constructors' Championship, and to register a 2nd winless campaign without any victories in 3 years. Marquez said that 2 riders are making their way to Honda next year, one claiming victories in races and one a world champion. If the performance is poor next year, it'll not be because of them, but rather because of the Honda bike, as it is a different kind of bike. All the riders that have gone through the bike have suffered, and from Marquez's own words, for you to find the limit on the bike, you have to crash, and that is where the confidence and luck come in. Let's hope that Joan Mir has all the confidence and luck to handle the Honda bike for 2023, and he'll need it. especially since Marquez has crashed 18 times with the bike in the 12 Grand Prix he took part in 2022, while Alex Marquez and Pol Espargaro fell 21 times in the 2022 season also. Repsol Honda needs all the help it can get next season, especially after a terrible 2022 season. But will Joan Mir be able to deliver?